Hi everyone, and we're live. Great to be here again. These Sundays seem to come round really quickly, and that's interesting. I'm just looking at the counter in the corner saying 0. Can somebody just drop a message in the chat just to say if we're properly live?
We're not live yet on my YouTube. Oh, we are now.
Ah, cool. Hi everyone. That's good because had a bit of a panic because just before the show we were talking about when we had Brother Terry on and we thought we were live for 30 minutes and we weren't. I didn't want to do that again. So anyway, it's great to have Robin here to show us some of his collection, and Sean, as usual, to prop us up with some excellent cutlery. So this is going to be a collector's corner one with us. So we'll get a bit of a background on Robin's collection. You've probably seen Robin in the Discord group if you're in there. Just before I get going, let me just get rid of this. Just a quick hello to people who are in the chat already. I think Mike from Make Cutlery Great Again, he was first in, which was great. Good to have Lynn here, Mrs. Naked Sean, and of course Tony from Tony Tensheds. I won't use my other nickname for him here as well. And Tourette's, yeah, Tony Tourette. Well, we can do, yeah, we'll let it. There's normally an FFS in there somewhere. Yeah, I thought, there we go.
There'll be several, yeah.
I'm not sure if he swears much. I can't remember him swearing much when I've met him, but he swears quite a lot in the chat but it's all abbreviated. So yeah, good to have Tiffers in as well, and Chirk as one of our moderators, and Slippy's there as well as our other moderator, and I think I saw Nige Loftus in there in the chat as well. Yeah, here he is. So great to have you here. And Stuart was on last week, a great guest. So hi Stuart, great to have you in the audience. I mean, this is one way of me boosting the audience, if I can just get new people in as guests, and then if they come back. And yeah, so good to have Slippy here as well, which is great. So Slippy's our other moderator. And I think maybe Ollie's Ollie's here as well, which is great. Hi Ollie. And Marco. So good to have a few people in. Should we start with a pocket check? Do you want to go first, Robin?
Yeah. Hey everyone. All right. I'm going to be. This is my summer carry. Obviously, you've got to fit everything in your trouser pockets without them falling down. So yeah, start off with my watch, which is a Casio G-Shock solar. The battery lasts 10 years, and it syncs to your phone, so it auto updates when you change time zones, which is quite nice.
Oh, cool.
Got my cheap little AliExpress bracelet, $1. iPhone 15 with a quad lock case, so you can navigate. I hope you're finding this very interesting, guys.
So you're a mountain biker. That's why you've got the quad lock, yeah?
No, the quad lock is so when you're driving, you can use it as a sat nav. No, you wouldn't do that. I did make that mistake once in my early days of my mountain biking career and broke my phone when I crashed.
Because that's what they sell it on, you know, that you can have it on like a bike, isn't it, as well? But I have thought it was a bit exposed being there.
Yeah, I think if you were fairly sure you weren't going to crash, it'd be fine. But if you crash, it's a problem. Obviously, my coffee loyalty card. Living in hipster Bristol, that's an important thing to have on me. Right. What else? What was next on my list? My keys. Worked really hard to minimise these, so they're not very big, but a little Phillips screwdriver on there.
Cool.
And then my little mesh case. I won't go through the contents, but the case cost about less than £1 on AliExpress. It weighs about 6 grams, and the contents are very much inspired by John Gadget, and And there's some emergency raisins in there, which is my own innovation. I expect that to catch on pretty quick.
Emergency raisins.
Yeah, emergency raisins.
Okay. With John Gadget though, he doesn't seem to have many things from AliExpress on his shows. I've noticed.
No. I think that's because he gets them free.
Yeah. We all like a bit of free.
If you're spending your own money, AliExpress is going to be a theme at least throughout the first part of the show.
Yeah.
But you can get stuff, some good stuff pretty cheap there.
No, it's great for EDC stuff.
Yeah. Moving on then to the pen, which is from AliExpress. This was about 14 quid, but it's Ultim with titanium clip, bolt action. It's pretty nice. I like it, and it's nice and short, as you can see. So it doesn't, when you're carrying it, it doesn't feel awkward in your pocket.
No, that's cool.
What else? What was next? And then everyone, I'm sure, has been waiting to see this. This is my bike multi-tool, which this is the best one I found. It's only about 50 grams, and it has an awful lot of tools on it. It's the sort of most bang for your buck in terms of useful things, which obviously, come in very handy on bike, mending bikes, but also in other circumstances as well.
Yeah.
And then my classic SD, which is my sort of go-to, non-scary, get it out when I need it. No one's going to be upset. I just carry that on my belt clip, my belt loop basically on my trousers. That's a little, you buy the case with the clip attached already from a guy called sack clips on eBay or Vic clips on Etsy, but it's really useful just being able to clip a classic SD to you. And obviously a classic SD, as we all know, has got a little pair of scissors, tiny little blade, and a nail file, which is less useful. But yeah, there you go. And then this is going to be very controversial. This is the main knife I carry in summer for the light carry. This is a San Remu 7089, which is a double detent knife. But as you can see, because of this little thing there, it can't really close on you. And actually, to be fair, for a double detent, it's pretty strong.
Yeah, because that's always
what's nice about this is it's pretty light. It's only 68 grams, but then it also has some other little tools on it as well. So there's a Phillips there and a little rope cutter, and on this side, a bottle opener and a flat screwdriver. So there you go.
That's cool. Is that the lot?
That's the lot.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Robin. That's nice EDC there. I like the carry. Sean, have you got a beverage with you? Have you got?
Yeah. There we go. Joy of the Session IPA from Hands on Beers, who are a Bristol brewery.
Ah, okay, so local.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Thanks, Robin. Sean, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Good day, wherever you are.
For the coffee, yeah?
Yes, got a coffee. Just about finished it.
Oh, there's a question already. It's doing that switching thing. There's a question already from Mikey about how's the arthritis today?
It's not bad. Not bad. I had a new arthritis yesterday. Spear point. Single blade, so that has kind of kept things at bay pretty much today. So, arthritis wise, not bad.
Good to hear. So what else is in your pockets then, Sean?
So today I'm carrying the Ashley Harrison Trapper. Libyan ironwood. Worked back spring.
Nice.
Yeah, that's me. I'm good with that today.
That's it. That's a lot. Nothing else?
Oh, yeah, no messing
Oh,
today.
okay. Short and sweet. Thanks for that. I just go through mine. I'll start with the beer first. I've got Old Empire IPA. This is 5.7%, but it's a little bit chewy, and it's going down really, really well. I've really just got my normal EDC actually. I've been carrying this today because I did a video on it, and I did a short on this a week or so ago, and it's done really well. So I thought I'd do a longer one. This is the genuine British Army knife, and I mean this is a civilian version. It's not been issued to anybody. I got this from Mikey at the last meetup. So thanks for that, Mikey. I'm still carrying the PPP knife. That's been in my pocket pretty much since I got it, and really nice. And of course with the PPP Tang stamp as well. But really nice, and that's in my griff slip, so which goes really well. If you've got one of these, you definitely need a griff slip to go in it. It's got a great selection of those. And then I got this last Sunday. I think I showed it last week, but I've been carrying this. I like to have a Midnight Manager in my pocket, and I've been carrying the old one. This one has the red light, which is pretty useless as a light actually. There's no chance of getting of losing your night sight with this because it's so dull. But I like this mainly for the scissors and the combi tool. Used that earlier for one of my grandson's presents, putting the batteries in, and yeah, so carrying that, and then my usual, not quite as minimal as Robin's keychain, but my keys with the Gerber shard and the Olight iMini 2. So and that's it really for that. So just a quick, I saw a few people have snuck in, so good to have Griff in the house, Mikey as well, and Was. So good to have you here. So Robin, you're our sort of guest this week. So let's go back in time a bit. So did you have like knives and an EDC when you were a kid? Is that where it started?
I don't think EDC was a thing when I was a child.
It was stuff in your pockets, wasn't it, really? Or if you had... I used to carry fishing stuff in a tobacco tin. You know, that was the nearest I had to EDC.
Okay, yeah. So yes, yeah. So I was in the Army Cadets at school. So that I was quite into that the outdoors. And that sort of stuff. And my granddad gave me a knife when I was quite young, which was lovely. And thanks to you, actually, thanks to come on the show, I thought I'd lost it. I hadn't seen it for years and years and years. But I made an effort to sort of look through some of my childhood stuff before this evening, and actually managed to find it. So that is my granddad's knife, which is an old Sheffield-made Sportsman. Unfortunately, the blades are so worn down that you can't see any identification on it. That's the
Right.
That's the main blade.
Oh goodness, that's had a bit of sharpening done on it, hasn't it, over the years?
And then the secondary blade, I don't know if you guys see, but it's so short I can't even get it out without a pair of pliers. There it is.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a lovely knife, and everything still works on it. There's the very important stone removal tool from to get stones out of horses' hooves. Came in very handy growing up. Can't say I ever used it for that purpose. a nice little awl, and a corkscrew. But it's apart from the blade being worn down, and then as you can see, there's a little bit of the bone that's broken away there. But yeah, it's lovely, and it's to be honest, it's lovely to find it and lovely to have it again. So thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have it, because I think most of us sort of had acquired knives, lost them, got different ones, lost them. That's really cool. So did you have any other knives sort of growing up, or was that the one that you?
Well, I mean, I'm sure like all of us, I had my sort of my big fixed blade knife to make me feel like I was Rambo. Yeah. That I took along on the fake army exercise I used to do as an army cadet. But no, not really. Apart from that, just those two really.
So what started your recent sort of EDC sort of knife collection?
Yeah, so about a year ago, and I don't know what it was. It might have just been YouTube's algorithm showing me EDC videos, and a combination of we've recently had our first daughter. She's 3 now, but you sort of your outlook on life changes. You think perhaps I need to be more prepared for things, and being a sort of geeky personality type that I am, sort of really appealed to me, and I sort of went down that tunnel. But yeah, so really to start off with, it was sort of, it was EDC, sort of EDC tools and gadgets, not really collecting, but sort of building out my EDC. I think that then took me on to, onto AliExpress. And before long, you realise, there's an awful lot of stuff out there. So, the first knife I actually got was a UK PK, because obviously as part of your EDC, you're meant to have a knife, and it sounded like a reasonable thing to have. And certainly what I was sort of seeing and reading at the time, I mean, obviously lots of people make lots of different recommendations, but it was the one that was coming through the most in terms of a recommendation for a sort of a UK legal carry EDC knife. And bought that, but I have to say, I've never really got on with it. It's not
really, because I mean, I didn't show mine today just because I show it just about every week, but I can guarantee this is in my pocket most of the time because of the sort of quick one-handed deployment. But
shut off.
Well, yeah, I think you want a knife you're EDCing to be able to open one hand. I think that's a good thing, but yeah, I mean, I think that's what I just didn't. It's not a beautiful object, either closed or open in my eyes.
It's not. I think some of them look better. This one doesn't look great, and the FRN scales are feel plasticky. I think they're stronger than you think, but yeah. Okay, so that was your first sort of foray into an EDC knife, yeah,
but then spending time on AliExpress, you come across sort of cheap or good value, I suppose, knives. So going back to what I was EDCing, this, I actually bought a different version of this first, which it was basically the same knife, but it also had a saw blade in parallel to the main blade. But the saw, although the blade was non-locking, the saw had a liner lock, which I sort of realised after a period of time that made it illegal to EDC without good reason, because it's a blade locking.
Probably, yeah. I mean, some people argue otherwise, but you don't want to be stopped and be carrying it and then
yeah,
have that.
Totally. But yeah, so I got this. So I got this version. What's great about this is it costs about 16 quid, so it doesn't really matter if you lose it. It's got pretty decent blade steel. It's 12C27. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. And it's got the tools as well. It's relatively light. It's just a good thing to EDC, I think. but yeah, I suppose that, I went further into the rabbit hole from there. I suppose, initially sort of in the AliExpress rabbit hole of realizing, wow, there's all of these really cheap knives to buy, and sort of exploring my childhood fantasies. Both fake knives, and, relatively cheap, non-branded Chinese knives. And I suppose that, as a result, you start doing more and more research, both through, reading stuff and watching stuff on YouTube. And you start learning more and more and more, and it sort of, you learn about different things and get interested in different things. And you end up moving from, I think I heard someone mention it on one of your shows already, EDC is sort of the gateway drug to knives, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that happened with me. I started watching knife channels, then going in the Discord. The Slip Joint Sanitarium is a slippery slope. Then you if you go in there, you will buy more knives, and it probably will sort of track you down the more traditional route as well, because that's what a lot of people are getting. So after that, then, so what did you progress onto after? Well,
I think I started getting so interested in it. I realized, I think, probably through watching, someone's YouTube video, that, there was a secondary market out there. If you found the right places on the internet, you could buy stuff cheaper, get better value secondhand. And I suppose that on one day I decided to join as many UK specific EDC, knife, bushcraft, and related Facebook groups as possible. Really, so I had a sort of access to that. But obviously, once you're then consuming that content, you become more and more immersed, and more used. And the more used you get to buying stuff, the more your perception of what's cheap and what's not cheap changes. Do you see what I mean? You sort of your tolerance level builds up over time.
Where's your tolerance level got to at the moment?
Way too high.
So are we talking in the hundreds now?
I mean, not as a matter of course, but occasionally.
I think that's a threshold I've yet to cross so far. Is me paying? I've got a couple of knives that were both gifts that were over 100, but I haven't bought any yet. So you were looking on the secondary market. So what was a good example of something that you bought from there then, Robin?
Well, before we move on, I'm just going back to sort of AliExpress. It'd be things like, I was buying things like, this is a fake Spyderco para-free, which actually, is a lovely, nice, despite it being fake.
They're very good. Those fakes, too good, I think.
Yes, but you start to realise actually, you don't really want fakes, do you? You want to learn more and experience more about the real thing. And for me, then it was, realizing actually, although obviously all of that stuff is perfectly legal, not only is it fake, but it's only legal to carry outside of your home if you've got good reason for it, right? If it's not under 3 inches and non-locking. So, and then also, I figured actually if I'm going to explore this, it'd be good to have a limit. If you were just sort of into knives, full stop, it's almost an infinite universe of possibilities, right? Whereas if you just focus on UK EDC legal stuff, it's a much smaller universe, and potentially you're going to have more fun. Despite that compromise, I think there's a real beauty in that compromise to a certain extent.
I think so, because one of the things I get a lot with my channel, are Americans who say, I couldn't live with these restrictions on knives, and why do you put up with it? Why don't you overthrow the government and things like that? But
yeah, Mark, why don't you do that? Come on.
exactly. I mean,
Well, you were going to have done that last week. Get on with it.
I just haven't found the time. Maybe next Wednesday, but it wouldn't make any difference here because whichever government you put in, they would be the same. But I think sometimes that sort of restriction does make it more interesting because you're having to think more about what and it does make you focus on an area as you said. And I quite like that. I do have a couple of fixed blade knives and two or four or five maybe, but not too many. And I have maybe one or two locking knives, but the rest are slip joints, and it's so much more interesting, I think, to have that focus. So, okay. So Robin, do you want to show us another knife that you've got that was part of your knife journey, and then we'll head over to Sean. So what was another one? So are you still in the AliExpress era, or are you?
No, I think once I sort of immersed myself in those Facebook groups, as I said, I was starting to focus on UK legal modern files, and I wasn't really setting out to collect or to become a collector. That just sort of happened organically. Like I bought one knife, and then I really like the sound of that one. I want to get that one. And then one thing leads to another. So I suppose a few examples would be, and again, it's cliched and obvious, right? Everyone, I don't know. I imagine a lot of people have been through this journey, right? Of buying knives that now you wouldn't consider that interesting, but at the time, you'd never heard of them before, and they sounded interesting, right? So you've got things like the Real Steel Luna, which actually is a really nice knife, but it's not particularly safe. It can close on you quite easily. It's not a particularly, it is a slip joint, but it's not got a very strong back spring.
It's not a strong lockout, no. And it is quite pointy as well. So although it's legal, it's one that if I don't take the Luna to work when I'm in the office, because I know I'm going to get a few raised eyebrows if I get it out, because it looks more aggressive than it is, I think.
Yeah. Although, I mean, on that point, going back to the, my summer carry, it's one of the reasons I have it on a little clip like that. So it's not visible.
Yeah.
And also another reason that I carry the classic SD, so if I need to use something that only needs the blade of that's what I use. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Another knife is interesting, I suppose, is this one, which is a Boca. What is it? Is it a Boca? It's not a Boca Worldwide. It's Boca XS, I think it's called. But this is more interesting because it is a slip joint. It's got a stronger spring than the Luna, and more importantly, like the Spider PK, it won't close on you, right? Because it's got the finger choil.
Yeah.
But it is it's although the cutting edge is less than 3 inches, the actual from the top of the scales to the tip is more than 3 inches. So now, in law, written down, it says cutting edge, but I've heard where it's taken the whole blade in some cases. So I mean, if you look at the Police UK website, which I have, what they're now saying there, and I'm not quite sure when it changed, is they are now saying that due to case history, i.e., in courts, judges making rulings that cutting edge means the length, what we would term the length of the whole blade, i.e., from the end of the scales to the tip. It doesn't they're not specifying how they measure that. Whether it's a straight line or a curve, which is annoying. There's no real clarity on it. But I mean, I think don't get me wrong. I would, if for some reason I was prosecuted for carrying this, which I'm very unlikely to be, because I probably wouldn't be carrying it, and I wouldn't be doing anything that would merit prosecution. I would definitely try and fight it, but it just seems more sensible not to carry a blade of more than 3 inches.
I think as well, most times, if you've got no form for, you know, assault, aggravated assault, robbery, that sort of thing, if you haven't got that, I think they would just confiscate it rather than prosecute. But I think normally it's something that's added on to another charge if somebody's fighting, or, you know, or something else. Okay, right, Sean, what have you got to show us? Have you got some? I haven't seen one of those in years.
What have I got to show you? Well, why don't we have a little look at, where is it?
I'm sure there's going to be an Ashley in here somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, Mark. As if. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. This is the Lanny's clip in olive wood.
Now, what's the difference between a Lanny's clip and a normal clip point then?
It was a style of clip point designed by Tony Bowes, I believe, from Case fame.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was Tony Bowes that designed the first. Sorry, I'm just being distracted by the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't put half of that up on the screen, so that's.
So yeah, that was where it got the name from. And then I think a lot of makers made their version of Lanny's clip, which became a bit of a thing at one time. Yeah, olive wood scales. It's got the hand chased back spring, which is probably not going to show up on this camera very well.
There's a bit of glare on it, I think.
Yeah,
it's a bit blingy for. Oh, that's. Yeah, I think we get a good impression of it.
It's like vine leaves going down there.
Yeah.
All done by hand by Ashley's father, Michael Harrison. So yeah, lovely open on this. It's really nice sound to it. Just pings when you get it fully opened. So yeah, there's that. And another favourite, the Brashley, which is the.
I think this one comes out every week, Sean, but I'm
just
it's one of those ones you can keep looking at, yeah.
Yeah, just those thick brass webs, and the part chased and part filed. It's all right, cat's helping me now. Come on, puss. Part chased and part filed back spring, which again is going to spoil the show. All right, puss.
Oh, she loves you.
She's a diva. But yeah, really nice bit of weight to this in the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, cracking one. Come on then, puss. And then everyday cat. And also a chicken. Just because it's there. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, got a bloody cat fluff all over me. Robin was showing his granddad's knife. This is one of those kind of pattern sportsman knives. This is a Taylor's Eyewitness one, which is quite worn, blade's quite worn on it. And on this one, the smaller blade, you can open it, but it's broken off at the tip. I keep saying I'm going to reshaping it, and you just still make a small usable blade out of it. But interestingly, this one's got scale tools. So you've got a pair of small tweezers and a metal toothpick as well.
Yeah.
Not fancy using that particularly.
No.
corkscrew, and the triangular shaped awl, and again the hoof cleaning tool, and then the main blade. So yeah.
Anything else?
Let's have a look. Tell you what I have got. Well, that was the cat knocking something over. This Arthur Writing stag, which was from the birthday group. It's just a fantastic piece of stag.
Yeah.
Nice and chunky, which is good for my hands because they're good size mitts. But yeah, lovely.
That's cool.
Really nice piece. Yeah.
I was just having a quick look in the chat and saw Phil McCracken. I don't think that's his real name, is it? So I've just realised now I've read it out. I'm gonna have to watch out for this. And jeez, TK's in the house, which is great. Good to have you here, TK. And I think I saw Cryptic Cuppa around somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So,
have we actually got anyone moderating the chat?
Yeah, there is. There's Chirk and Slippy. But I mean, when it's moderation, mild abuse, which I think you've had a bit for some of your Chinesium knives.
Oh yeah,
Robin.
I was fully expecting. I'm taking people on a journey. That the same journey
that's
that
fine. Just be patient, and if it was all like Arthur writes, it would get a bit boring as well. But
no,
so
it wouldn't.
it's good to see this. I think is Griff in the house as well. I saw
Griff.
There we are. Yeah, he's relaxing on holiday. There's a load of stuff that I don't understand in the chat, so I'm not going to put it up because it probably means something else. And of course Mikey's here as well, so good to have you here, Mikey. Yeah. I think I'm coming to Tony's. That's the end of the month. Yeah, that's for the meetup. Chirk has put the link into the Discord group, so that's always good. And right, so back to you then, Robin. So further on your journey.
So hang on a sec. Talk amongst yourselves just while my missus is in the kitchen.
Oh, do you not want to talk about knives while she's there?
Well, she's boiling the kettle. It's just the background noise more than anything.
Okay. We're sort of well, shall we go to keep, carry, scrap early then? We can do that. So just to mix it up a bit. I normally leave it till later, but let's do it now. And then I can do the talking for a bit, and then hopefully by the time that's done, the kettle will be boiled, if that's okay. Now I'm a little apprehensive about this one because I've gone back to Congis, and I've had a bit of stick when I do that. But let's see. So as usual, I'm going to put up 3 knives. One is to keep, one is keep but not carry much. So that's like a Sunday best knife. One is to carry, which you're going to carry every day, and one is to scrap or to gift. And I think Stuart was the recipient of a lot of knives last time. So so I've gone to 3 different knife makers, and as I say, all on Congis. This is a Max Sal, and it's a Stag Lanny's clip. And it's got a Woods steel blade. Now I had to look that up. I'd never heard of that before, and I gather it's a bit like a Damascus steel blade. Somebody in the chat might might say something else. Oh, TK, yeah, it's not broken. We're just being flexible, which is what professionals do, isn't it? So, yeah, so this had bone bolsters, brass liners, and stag scales. On Congis, there are 2 of these. That's why it's got number 1 on it. I couldn't get rid of it. The next one is Francoise Massine. That's another Lanny's Clip Trapper in N690 blade steel with sported maple scales, a resin shield, and fluted bolsters in stainless steel. And then the third one is an Alexander Vetrov shadow pattern, Lanny's Clip, M390 blade steel, butterscotch micarta with a federal shield. So
sounds like a dessert.
It does a bit, doesn't it? It's getting a little bit like yeah, some posh restaurant who's or an M&S advert. So what's your thinking, Robin?
Right, it's pretty easy. I mean, but it's easy because there's one I don't really like aesthetically. But yeah, I would keep the Francois Masserin. I would carry that Alexander Vetrov, and I would scrap the Max Sau. Not that Max Sau is a lovely knife. It's just not to my personal taste.
Okay, so it's scrap. Was it scrap, keep, carry? Or
Yeah,
scrap, keep,
scrap,
carry.
keep, carry.
Sean, what's your thinking on this?
Well, I was just wondering where the Ashley is. Can't see it.
You can always sell one to buy an Ashley or 2, or 3 or 4 in.
I'm going to keep number 1, carry number 2, and scrap number 3.
Okay. That's pretty much what mine was actually, Sean. So mine was keep, carry, scrap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking in the chat. Yeah, Slippy's dived in quick with a scrap, keep, carry. Is it the bone bolsters that maybe?
It just looks like an albino knife, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Woz has got keep, carry, gift. Ollie's got keep, carry, scrap. Pete's got
it right.
Keep, carry, gift to TK.
I wasn't looking at that one.
Griff is carry, keep, scrap. Chirk is keep, carry, give to Griff. Rob, good to have you here, Rob. Sorry, I missed you earlier. Scrap, keep, carry. Oh, this first one isn't very popular. Even Mikey's scrap, keep, carry. TK's keep, carry, scrap.
Oh, then he changed his mind.
Oh, does he? Oh, scrap, keep, carry. Right, that's completely different. Were you just repeating the title of the game, TK? Stuart's gone for keep, carry, scrap. Yeah, I know what you mean, Slippy, but it doesn't look like Damascus. So, but, and then I was looking up this, and it said that wood steel is, everybody's forgotten how to make it. So, oh, here we go. TK's gone for the other option. Is that all the options now, or are there more? Anyway,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love a knife with stag, and just for just to please the audience, there's an Ashley in stag, which is a beautiful knife. It's not that I don't like stag. I just
that's quite a knobbly stag as well, isn't it?
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Can we bring Robin up, because I can't see that. It's behind the.
Hang on. Let me Let me swap this out. Yeah, well, that, here we go.
That's better. I can see. Yeah, that's lovely. You see, I'm feeling better already. Another Ashley to look at.
There you go. I thought that would please the audience. But yeah, I mean, this brings me on to another point. You know, I got this in a trade, so I bought a bundle of knives off some. Well, it wasn't a trade. I bought a bundle of knives off someone, but you know, as a result, you know, each individual knife was quite keenly priced. So you know, part of it for me is, you know, not buying knives full price, but feeling like you're getting a deal on them. You know, and that for me, that's part of the thrill.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And yeah, I think Slippy's calling it teenager's face stag. That's a bit.
So I just TK's caught me out. I just.
So yeah, just bringing this back up just for a minute, and then just to see the prices on these, because if you do want to buy them, they are still available. Well, they were when I put this together.
Oh, quick! Where's my phone?
So they're quite pricey, because this is like 2 Ashleys, that's 2 Ashleys, and that's like 3.5 to 4 Ashleys. So well, I guess it depends on the Ashley, doesn't it? So anyway, yeah, I think but I can't just do Ashley Harrison's in the keep carry scrap, guys, you know, or I can maybe do it again.
Okay,
yeah,
bye.
Yeah, I'm hiding behind Slippy. Anyway, that was just a bit of fun. So they aren't for real. Well, I haven't got them for real. So back to your knife journey. Where have we got to now then, Robin, in your building your collection?
So yeah, I started while I was sort of getting into sort of modern UK legal folders. I started to you know, watch more content, read more content about Victorinoxes and Swiss Army knives, and went down that rabbit hole. And for me, you know, it's I suppose it's about the sort of most amount of functionality for the least amount of weight, right? So no better example of that than the simple waiter, just with, you know, a main blade, a combo tool, and a corkscrew. And obviously it's, as a result, and it's only 84mm and not 91, so it's just really small and light and thin and, you know, easy to carry.
Yeah,
lots of functionality in there. You know, if you want to start getting more esoteric, you know, sort of chasing discontinued models. So this is this was, you know, relatively easy to get hold of. They weren't discontinued that long ago, but this is a small Tinker, so an 84mm Tinker with a Phillips screwdriver, and then a main blade, a small blade, and, you know, the tool, the can opener and the bottle opener tools. But again, just very small and compact and light. This is a Wenger backpacker, I think it's called, maybe an Alpine backpacker. I think it's just a backpacker, which is, again, very small and compact. So it has just a main blade, a combo tool, Wenger's version of the combo tool, which is different. But then it has a saw and a corkscrew on the back. Doesn't have an awl. Doesn't have an awl though. But yeah, 85mm. Again, very small and light. Lovely little thing. And again, Wenger's just seem to be less popular than Victorinox. I suppose there's less of them around. Yeah. They've been discontinued for a while. But they are, you know, I suppose on balance, I prefer Victorinox to Wenger. They are sort of, you know, they are better in certain aspects, but the Wengers are also very nice. And then, you know, this is a sort of this is a Salesman, so an 84mm pair of scissors, which are quite hard to get. Phillips screwdriver on the back, and yeah, combo tool, can opener and bottle opener, and the two blades. But again, just very small, light and compact. And then just sort of, out of your standard Victorinoxes, the Ranger is pretty good, probably as big as I'd want to go. It's
is that a 5 or 6 layer? Is it?
It is. I'm just counting them now. It is 5 layer. So it's got the 2 main blades. It's then got. It has then got the metal saw stroke file. It's then got the saw. It's then got a pair of scissors, a 91mm scissors, and then the bottle opener and can opener duo. And then, because it's Victorinox, it's got a bit more on the back. It's got a corkscrew. It's got, it's got an awl, which I can't open with my terrible fingernails. And I believe it's got, what is that? Yeah, it's got a little, no, that's a little screwdriver.
Ah, right.
Little micro screwdriver, that one.
Yeah.
And obviously the hook, which obviously if it's not a compact, it doesn't have a diamond file on it, which makes it slightly useful. But I mean, I've never really worked. I mean, obviously they say it's for carrying things like that, but I'm not. It doesn't strike me as a particularly useful tool. That one.
I haven't used mine other than I've got a Yeoman with Slippy customized, and that has it on, and I've just got a compact last weekend with it on with the nail file, which seems. So how many Swiss Army knives have you got then, Robin?
That's a good question. I don't know. I at one stage I bought off Facebook Marketplace someone selling a job lot of. I'll tell you. Hang on, where's my spreadsheet?
Sorry, you've got enough that you need to have a spreadsheet to.
Yeah.
Are you just organised? I should have a spreadsheet myself, I think.
I thought you said bed sheet. I've got a bed sheet.
Hang on. Yeah, so a job lot of 61 84mm and 91 ones, and then 34 small ones, and some multi-tools, which I bought, for free figure sum, but made each individual one quite a thing. And to be honest, they were, most of them were in pretty terrible condition. They're all sort of, how the aluminium sort of gets corroded with all that white stuff on it. The liners, and some of them are completely seized. But there were some few good ones in there, including 3 quite rare ones, which on just those 3 ones, if you sold them in a reasonable condition, would be worth a lot more than I paid for that bundle.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite a few, because I counted mine up, and I think I got to 30, 34, 35 Victorinox, and I hadn't realised I had that many, so I might need to get rid of some. Okay, so after your Victorinox phase, what came next?
Then I got my first traditional, obviously since my granddad's knife, which was a twisted assisted Arthur Wright lamb's foot in green and black micarta, which is lovely, and I don't know, it's something about the beauty and simplicity of it, and the sort of childhood memories it evoked. Although obviously it's very different to my granddad's sportsman's knife, it felt similar in a lot of ways. That was what acted, if you like, as the gateway drug from modern knives into traditional knives in all their forms. I mean, it's just like, just look how hard that spring is. It's ridiculously, it's got such a strong spring. I love it. And it's just it's just a really beautiful knife. It
doesn't need to be locking with a spring that strong, does it?
It's lovely. And I suppose that's where not that I had a name for it at the time, but I think that's where my arthritis started.
Yeah. I went very quickly from, I think, 1 to about 5 arthright from last year's Sharp show. But there is something nice about it. Talking about arthright, Sean, have you got something to show us? I'm sure.
Me?
Yeah.
I've got oh sorry, it's a coffee stick. This is a twisted assisted one. On the sort of second run, I believe, that had the actual twisted assisted skull with a gas mask stamp rather than the just made in Sheffield one from the first run, which is a cracking little knife. And where is it? I've just seen it. There it is. Also got the burlap micarta one in the Barlow.
Yeah, I've just seen. I've got the. This is a twisted assisted one. Have I got them?
But they are, they're just the standard models with the different spec that James has asked for. The micarta.
Yeah.
But they're cracking knives, really. For when you think about what you get for your money with an Arthur Wright, it's exceptional, really. They're all handmade.
Yeah.
In the UK. And
by 3 people.
One of 3 people. It's really 2 people. Michael doesn't do really very much hands-on stuff. A bit, but by and large, it's down to Beth and Ashley that are putting these things together. And I think they're just phenomenal for the money.
So there's a fair bit of trolling in the chat today.
Really?
And anything else, Sean? Anything else to show before we?
Well, let's have a look at one of the Britbuster shooting desert. This is the Desert Ironwood. Probably bird's eye pivot on these. And the figuring on this Desert Ironwood is absolutely gorgeous.
And was there talk about this coming out as a sort of a general pattern for them now?
I don't think the Britbuster is, but I know they've sort of spoken about doing a Sodbuster type blade. It's the thing is, there's with the sort of very limited workforce they've got and the commitments to other orders, it's something that I think they would like to do. How soon it will happen is another matter. There's only so much they can do in a week.
Yeah,
with the sort of resources they've got staff wise. But this is a great knife. Really nice. Good hand size. It's a sort of 4-inch. Where's my tape? It's at least 4-inch handle anyway on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite like it when the handle is larger than the blade. significantly, so you get something good to hold on to. That's yeah, I think there's quite a few people that would like the Britbuster to be out on general sale. So Robin, back to you. So so you've got into traditionals more. So where has your knife collection gone after getting your first sort of twisted assisted Arthur Wright?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I think it's, part of it is about the media you start consuming, right?
Yeah.
Having gone from EDC YouTube videos and knife YouTube videos, but coming up as a result of you searching for a specific knife and you watching that, to getting into getting the Arthur Wright, and starting to think more about traditionals, and actually go, I should go back to that channel I saw the other day, and watch some of their other videos, and you start seeing the same channels. Well, I started seeing the same channels popping up every now and again, and with some regularity. So people like Gadget Gus, Slick Slicers, Steel City Knives, our friend John at Thrifty Knifty, Paddy's Potato Peelers, and then some, I can't remember the name, some Sawyer, I can't quite remember. So Matt at Slip Joint Sawyer, and started watching on a more regular basis, and started learning much more about traditional pocket knives and modern traditional pocket knives, as opposed to modern knives, and going off on, I suppose, tangents and journeys, and a lot of it driven by what came up for sale on Facebook, to a certain extent, on in those Facebook groups. Then that, on a fateful day about 2 months ago, I joined the Discord.
Oh,
just lost Sean.
We lost Sean. Yeah. So you've been in Discord for 2 months. How many more knives have you bought in that time?
I don't know, actually. I wouldn't. I wouldn't say my rate has gone up massively. Maybe a little bit when there's a slippy sale. But yeah, I suppose it's just more about less to do with being on Discord, and more to do with watching everyone's channels. Probably for the last 6 months or so. Just learning more and finding out more and seeing different areas of traditional knives. So I've got as Paddy says, if you've got more than five or more of one type of knife, it's a sub collection. So I've got lots of different sub collections now. I've got a sub collection of sod busters. I've got even got a sub collection of mini trappers. It's just really interesting, and they're all just such beautiful knives. Let me show you a.
Yeah. Let's see some.
I mean, sod busters. I don't know how much you've looked into sod busters yourselves, but the case sod buster, which is the only one you're officially allowed to call a sod buster because they trademarked it. They do a bit like GECs. They release knives constantly with different covers, in order to encourage people buying them. And there are some covers that people like more than others. And a lot of the really interesting ones get released as exclusives on US knife websites and aren't really available here in the UK. So, if you want to get them, you've got to sort of go for a real palaver of, well, before I joined Discguide and met some Americans in person, for me, the process was going onto eBay, finding the knives for sale at a reasonable price, contacting the seller, explaining that, would they ship, outside of the US? Would you ship to the UK? Then about only about 1 in 5 says yes to that. Once they say yes to that, you then got to persuade them to go off eBay, because obviously a UK eBay account won't let you buy knives, even if it's on eBay.com. And then you got to persuade them to send you the knife, which sometimes they do. So that's I think it's called the dragon scale pattern, the sort of burnt green with burnt sort of stuff. this was another interesting cover. But some of them are just really, you know, they're lovely knives. I'm trying to think if there's any other worth showing you. Sean's back.
Yeah,
Back.
yeah.
Yeah, internet dropped out.
But once you start on that journey, you then realise, oh, these things called GEC. So this is a GEC bullnose, which is the sort of the smaller of their two sodbuster patterns. So you see the etching on the blade. But yeah, they're really beautiful knives. But again, you know, in the UK, it's quite hard to get hold of. You have to wait for someone to sell one on Facebook. You know, they're not really available on online retailers here in the UK.
Yeah.
And unlike other US knives that you can't get in the UK, you don't want to be buying them on eBay because they fetch such a ridiculous price in the US. That, you know, we seem to be able to get GECs when they come up cheaper here in the UK than in the US.
Oh, they're crazy prices. Some of them, yeah, I've seen. So is this sort of where your collection's going then, Robin, at the moment? What sort of knife gives you the fizz these days?
So yeah, much more often than not these days, it's a traditional knife or a modern traditional, or, you know, less often, but still often a modern traditional. But that doesn't mean it can't be you know, it has to be a traditional knife. You know, I suppose it's about form and function, you know, beauty and purpose. You know, they're sort of, you know, they're beautiful objects that clearly have a function. You know, it's not just. Yeah. It's not just beauty.
How many of your knives would you? How many of your knives would you actually use then, Robin? Or is it just a small sample, or
yeah, it's just a small sample. I'm not someone that uses every knife that I have, and you know, if you don't carry it, you don't keep it. I'm not that person.
Yeah,
I'm using beta knives that I don't care about to carry. Mostly, not exclusively, but I'm collecting ones that I love.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So do you have a grail knife that you're sort of looking for? Or what would that look like?
Yeah, yes, is the short answer. The longer answer is, you know, I've always had a sort of you know, as I've learned more, I've kept a list of knives I'm interested in, and you sort of realize over time the ones that are actually quite hard to get. And, you know, some of them you sort of think are a grail before you get them. Some of them you don't really realize how good they are till you get them. Others you think are going to be a grail, but when you get them, you're less impressed with them. So for a long time, I was after something called the Pitts Mark V, which is a knife by a UK maker called Mike Reed, and his username on the Spyderco web forum was Pitts, short for Pie in the Sky, and he produced his own set of knives, the Pitts range, but then also designed the Spyderco Pitts, which is shortened to Spitz, for Spyderco, which they released as two different sprint runs in different years. But yeah, trying to get hold of a Pitts Mark V at a reasonable price, or even at a ridiculous price, is really pretty hard. So it took me months to get hold of one of these. But there's a Pitts Mark V. What's really interesting about these knives and the Spyderco version of them is they are a slip joint. You know, as you can see, you look at the back string. Oops, sorry, the back string is built into the frame there. You can see it. You know, the back string moving slightly. So it's a proper slip joint, but because it's both these sides of the frame here is the spring. When you're holding the knife like that, it's almost impossible I'm applying a lot of pressure there. It's impossible to break the lock. Not impossible, but very hard to break the lock.
Yeah.
And obviously it's still got that sort of safety feature there. And on the Spyderco version, it's not a sticky out thing. It's a finger choil, but principle's the same. So you've got these sort of 2 layers of safety to make it more useful. So it's just and personally, and I know opinions will be divided on this, but I find that a very beautiful knife. The Spyderco version less so, although it's not bad. It's for a Spyderco, it's pretty good, but it's not as nice as that. And obviously, it's British, which means something to me. It's it's not handmade, but it's sort of it's very limited production run. He made and he designed it himself. It's there's lots of aspects of that for me made that a ground knife, and it still is. Yeah. But I'm just trying to where's the here. But another knife that I was after for a long time. Partially there's a lot of Paddy talking about it a bit in some of his earlier videos. He mentions it less these days as he's got more and more into traditional lives. Is this the Hinderer XM Slippy, which a lot of people, not just Paddy, talk about as one of the best UK legal modern folders. And again, virtually impossible to get. They stopped being manufactured a long time ago, and they don't come up very often. So I managed to get this a few months ago, and don't get me wrong, it's a nice knife, but it's not. To me, it's not that special. Alongside lots of other knives, which are much easier to get hold of, it's still in production, and just in my opinion, just as good a knife as this. It's quite good. It doesn't. If you close it like that, it doesn't. It can't cut you. It's sort of got but there's nothing stopping it closing. Yeah. You can't really use that bit as a finger choil. So yeah, different knives. And obviously once you've got a knife, can it still be a grail once you've got it? I don't know. Sometimes it can, but you then start thinking about the next thing.
I think so, because if we're talking about a real holy grail, there's only one, isn't there? There's only ever one. So I think you can have a wish list, but there's probably only one of those that would be a grail knife. Oh, Paddy's popped in, so he says it's still one of his favorite knives. I don't know if that was the earlier one or this or that one, but. So is there a particular knife that you're looking for at the moment then Robin?
That's a good question. I think at the moment, and partially because of all the talk about it and the jokes about it and the jesting about it on the Discord chat, but also partially because they're beautiful knives, very rare, have real meaning, especially if you're British or English. Would be a Trevor Ablett. Ideally a clip point one, just because I think that suits his style better. Yeah. I know people in the chat have got a few of those. Sean, you haven't got a Trevor Ablett to show us?
He's just lurking about for one. I can see him looking.
Yeah, that was one I picked up when Trevor was still alive.
Hang on, let's see that.
Rosewood covers, so it's got the etching on the smaller spear. And this was one I used to carry regularly. I got it to use, and it was used and carried.
And are those bolsters part of his sort of trademark?
Yeah, he did that. That was one of his kind of things, really, with his bolsters. These chamfered bolsters. Yeah. And then when we were out hunting several weeks ago now, up near Sheffield, it was, oh God, I forget the name of the place. No, it's gone. Drew recommended this antique centre to us. He said it's not far from Sheffield, and we went out, and I found this one, and I'm pretty sure it's a Trevor. So similar to the one I've already got in shape. Doesn't say anything on it other than it says somewhere made in Sheffield, which it was something Trevor often didn't stamp his knives.
Yeah.
And I picked this one up for, I think it's about 14 quid.
Oh wow. That's.
Uh,
I think this is. I mean, having seen some of the antique, well, having been to a couple of antique shops and the antique fair in Malvern a couple of times, they just look like old knives to most people.
yeah.
So a lot of them are not. People don't appreciate that they might have some rarity or.
Well, these two I got when we were with you, Mark. These have a Trevor Ablett connection.
Yeah.
And I think they were like, I don't know, 3 or 4 quid something each.
Yeah.
These were the Steel City Martin did a video on these recently about the connection to.
It's such a nice pattern, though. I really like that sort of style of the Warney and the coping blade.
Yeah, I saw. Was it Scott? He's got one, I think. Who's on Discord?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think Mike had said it looked like a half Whittler, which it does actually.
Yeah.
With that Warney and that little, like a little coping blade.
Oh, Elan's in the house. Hi, Elan. Good to have you here.
Lost my car.
Is it going to swap back? No, it doesn't. Yeah. Any other Trevors?
Not here. Not here. No.
But going back to Grail knives, this is and the fact that I thought I'd lost my grandfather's knife. This was a knife I got off Facebook recently, which I think is a. Am I going to be able to see it in the light? Yeah, it's a George Butler.
Oh yeah.
Which obviously is very like my grandfather's knife, but actually with some blade left on both blades.
Yeah.
And it's an absolutely, it's a beautiful knife. Doesn't have a shield, but apart from that, it's almost perfect.
That bolster at the end is I guess it's because of the it's small because of that. Yeah. And actually, there are different versions. There are some they seem to have made where these tools sort of stick on a hump on the outside. So there's like the hump is sort of down here. Yeah.
It'd be nice to pick up one of those one day. But yeah, these are these in good condition. They're over 100 years old easily. Are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful knives.
Yeah.
But if I ever do get my hands on a Trevor Ablett, then I probably will want a Stan Shaw.
Yeah. So you're going for the sort of the Sheffield royalty then, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I'd like to have a knife from every sort of. I mean, probably not historic maker, because obviously there were a lot of cutlery companies in Sheffield, and that would be almost impossible. But certainly, sort of all the modern makers that that were either alive recently or are still making knives today, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is this where you see your collection going in the future then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
trying to pick up.
Sean's not going to be outdone. He's
showing us that type of knife, yeah, with a bit stick out the side.
Yeah, so we've got on this one, you've got the main blade, but then you've got all kinds of other tools on the back. You've got a small It's like a gimlet wood oil thing. Flat bladed screwdriver. One of those triangular punches, like an all proper corkscrew, if I can get my fingers around it.
Yeah.
You've then got on the other side, got saw, and then a
Geez, that one's fully loaded, isn't it?
button hook, and then a small pen blade,
Wow.
which is very, it's a bit warm, but it's still pretty much there.
Who needs a Swiss Army knife when you got one of those?
Well, it is interesting. I mean, obviously, I don't think it was just Sheffield makers. I think they were probably making them in Solingen in Germany around the same time. But
yeah,
you know, it's quite a common pattern, isn't it? What's it? They're called sportsmen. Is that one called a sportsman as well, Sean?
I believe so. Yeah, it covers. I mean, I've seen them called coachman's knives. The ones with the horseshoe, the hoof cleaner. I've heard them called coachman's knives, sportsman's knives. Oh yeah, there's a little nail cleaner as well there. That's cool. I've also got, where is that? This is another one. Now this,
hang on, let me.
is Spanish. It took a little bit of tracking down to identify what it was. I thought it was French initially, but on the back it looks like it's got this really thick back spring, but actually what it is another one of those hoof tools.
Cool.
And you've also got the triangular punch.
Yeah.
Decent size punch.
Has it got a blade stamp on it? Or a maker's mark?
Yeah, it has. It's not very clear, but I believe it's Spanish, and it's Ihez or something. Ihez. It's got a decent sized main blade.
Yeah.
Nice bird's eye pivots on this as well. It's got the old style can opener with a thumb stud to open it.
Yeah, that's like a clip point can opener, isn't it?
Yeah, it is almost, isn't it? And then you've got the flat blade screwdriver. You've got a decent sized saw, a decent sized secondary blade, and probably ought to have closed that first, really. You've also got, if I can get hold of it, a good sized pair of scissors, and the spring is still there on those, so but yeah.
That's got a lot, hasn't it?
It's not small. It's a big old knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is.
Yeah,
I think that is and it's IHER, isn't it?
Yeah, Spanish. So.
Yeah, I bought one of those on Spanish eBay and had it sent to my sister's house, who lives in Spain. I haven't picked it up yet because I'm gone to see her. But mine's much smaller. Mine's the equivalent of a Victorinox Climber.
Oh, yeah.
But very similar covers to that. But yeah, then also, you know, going back to sort of UK makers, you know, some UK makers, obviously, if you buy direct off them, are quite expensive. But again, you can pick them up sometimes cheaper on the secondary market. So this is my first Shing, who actually joined the discard and I think got scared off and went away again because we were.
It's not a place for the faint-hearted. Just if.
This is a beautiful knife, but this was made all the better because a few weeks beforehand, you always try and keep close eye on what when Kongi uploads stuff to his Facebook page and therefore notifies you that there are new knives for sale. But for that particular day, I was in work meeting, so wasn't watching very closely for a few hours. And during that few hours, he put a lovely shing up, which our friend Matt Sawyer bought. I was very upset about because I've been keeping an eye out for a while. But this one came up a few weeks later, which is nice. I quite like you see the little field grade. And then, again, thanks to Discord and people letting each other know when Ashley is putting his knives up for sale, I've managed to pick up a couple of Ashleys. So as well as that one I showed you earlier, which I got in a bundle of knives I bought on the secondary market, I've also managed to get my hands on a couple of his newer knives direct. So that was one that I picked up the other day. Arrived about 2 days ago.
Cool.
Which is a beautiful sheep's foot with fluted bolster. As you can tell, I don't mind colourful knives in my traditionals.
It is quite snazzy, as we would say back in the day.
Yeah. And then that's another one I got a few weeks ago. Which is sort of jigged wood with a false bolster, and this one's a lamb's foot.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice, yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've seen any of Ashley's knives which I've thought, there are a couple where maybe the colours wouldn't be for me, but there's none that I thought looked terrible. I've gone through his Instagram a couple of times, looking for ideas for keep, carry, scrap for stuff. So and there's I might dive in there for next week and pull some out. But that's cool. So it's certainly you're looking at some of the makers then, and do you think you're going to stick with English ones, or do you think you're going to maybe go European, a bit like Elan has? Elan goes pretty deep into the background of the knife makers that he buys from.
Yeah, I want to say no. I want to say I'm going to sort of try and calm it down and sell a few knives. And now I've built up a collection and I'm pretty happy with it. Slow down a bit, but that I may be trying to tell myself something that won't actually happen.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Then, even thinking about it, I'm off to see my sister in Spain in a week's time, and so there's not only that her there waiting for me. There's a few other Spanish knives there waiting for me.
Okay.
Spanish knives, if you buy them in chain in Spain and get them shipped to Spain, to Spanish address, are really quite very affordable.
Yeah.
Potentially, a lot more affordable than even after rights, actually. And a lot of there's again, I can't remember the name of the town, but like Sheffield in England and Solingen in Germany, there's a town in Spain with lots of different knife makers in it.
Yeah.
And that, a lot of them still make knives by hand.
Be still around, but yeah. Oh, that's cool. Well, it's been really good seeing how your collection has changed from AliExpress through to individual knife makers. So that's quite a journey in what, 2 or 3 years? That's
even less, probably a year really.
Yeah. So and it's been nice, seeing some of the knives that give you the fizz, and thanks for sharing that with us. We just go once round. So Sean, you got any last ones to show?
What can I show? I tell you what, let's have something. Let's have a drying eaten German otter. Great knives. Lovely grooved bolsters. The sort of rat tail bolsters on these. fantastic working knife. Really, really well made.
That's quite a big blade there, though, isn't it? Is that?
Yeah, it is. I think it's probably not quite UK legal. To be fair, it wouldn't really bother me where I am. I'm not going to go do anything stupid.
And you could maybe say you need it for work. Would that maybe?
Well, yeah, carry it as a working tool. But yeah, it's great. They're great knives, the Otters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that one.
That's cool. And Robin, do you have one last knife to show?
Yeah, I'll show you this. This is it's a Michael May. But this he put one of these on his website, which is it's a lamb's foot. But the covers are made out of an old climbing rope that he turned into a Makata himself. So they're quite rough and ready, but very interesting. And so yeah, I contacted them and asked for one, and he luckily had enough.
Hang on. Let me put you up full for that. We can't see it.
There you go. So that's he's made the covers out of an old climbing rope, which he's turned into a Makata. The show side's a bit better than you can see the colours really in this light. But yeah, he made one of those and put it up on his website, and they sold out. Or the two that he made sold out. But I contacted him, and he had enough of the climbing rope Makata left to make me that.
Oh, that's cool. I hadn't really thought about people making their own Makata, but I guess it's resin and some form of material, isn't it? So yeah, that's cool. I just have one last one to show, which I opened off camera because this isn't one that I'm able to open easily. So this is the Heine Haynes Arthur Wright, and which has a pull of about 12, I think. I haven't opened this for a while, so it gets more difficult over time. But I just love the sheep's foot there, and yeah, I think this was my first Arthur Wright, actually. So anyway, you've got the same, Sean, yeah?
We got on the same day, didn't we?
Yes.
We got them
and you've got the same as well, Robin. Let's put a sort. That's a good place to finish.
Yeah.
Cracking knives. I don't know why mine's so stiff. I maybe need to oil it a bit or soak it or something. But
I would like it because he's got one with a. He might swap with you with a.
Oh, I don't want to get a Wendy version. I will persevere, and I mean I've got a Joseph Rogers. I think this one, which is a very weak pull to open, but it does lock up fairly well. So I don't mind that. It doesn't come open by itself, but it's you can pinch grip it really easily. Anyway, big thank you to everybody who's stuck with us. Elan's saying carry, which is great. Sorry to hear about Paddy. Has he had an accident? I saw something about a boo-boo. So was this an occupational hazard type that we all get?
May well have been he did a video. I think it was today's video.
It wasn't a sharpening one, was it?
No, just a little nick on his thumb or finger.
Okay.
And I've just seen Tony's comment. Obviously, I meant fluted bolsters, Tony. I apologise.
Oh, just chill out. We don't always get the terms right. Anyway, So big thank you to Robin for coming on the show, facing facing the trolling in the chat. It's nice to have somebody else being trolled, not just me when I do my bad keep carry scraps. Great to have Sean here as always. Now, Sean's not here next week. I will be, so I'm looking for a couple of guests. So if there's anybody in Discord who wants to jump on the show, let me know. I'll be sending some notes around later. And then the week after, I'm away. So I'll be in a caravan in Porthmadog. So I don't think I'll be able to do the show from there. Anyway, big thank you to everybody who stuck it out in the chat. Big thank you to Sean and to Robin. And catch you here next week, hopefully. So take care, everyone, and see you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.